What's up guys, this is Brett of Barbell Therapy. Today we're going to dispel the myth of the butt wink, what it means and how we can actually improve it and why we would want to improve it if it is an issue. So what a butt wink is Anthony, if you face that way for me here. So if we watch Anthony squat without any weight, what we'll see, so just do a regular squat, just go all the way down, we'll see this kind of roll of his pelvis where he comes down, so stand back up. So he starts relatively straight, and so when he comes down, we see that the pelvis kind of winks under, and we get this little bit of a curvature of the lower spine. Stand back up, good. So what we used to think with mechanics of disc herniation and degeneration and things is that when we round the spine, that's what causes disc herniation, and that's what causes degeneration, pain, injury, and whatnot. And so for a long time, we always thought the butt wink was an issue, but a few years ago, we did some studies where looking at the spine, even when we think we see a straight spine that isn't moving, in actuality, the research and the studies we have looking at the actual movement of the spine shows we have anywhere from 26 to 40 degrees of movement or so. Now, part of why this matters is for performance, so not so much pain. If we do have someone that is in pain, that does have pain when they're bending forward or sitting for long periods, we know they might have a flexion type injury where we do want to do some things to improve control of the butt wink, because in general we'll be stronger and more stable if we have good control through here. So a lot of times just with load alone we can change what happens here. So with Anthony, if we just grab a kettlebell and have him load this, and try and face the side again. So if we just watch him squat back down, right, we'll see just that load alone. He still has some curvature here, but it's a lot less. And come back up. And now what I want to do, a lot of people have this if they lack a little bit of core control. So Anthony, bring that back up and just hold it out in front of you a little bit more. So holding that out in front, creating a counterbalance too, forces his core to work a little bit harder. So now squat down slow. And we'll see that that is much less. He can sit more upright. And when he stands up, we get much less curvature there. So we can't just look at a squat alone as a body weight movement. We have to look at it with load and what happens when we change positioning and control and put different constraints on the movement. So simply just doing some good anterior bracing can improve what happens with the butt wink. I'll have Anthony come down too, because the other part of this we want to look at with the butt wink is his squat stance. And we always need to respect the squat stance and hip anatomy that someone has for the most part. So Anthony, lie on your back, and we'll look at a couple different viewpoints of the squat. So if I bring Anthony's hip up, I bring him back. If I try to keep him narrow here, keep him close to the chest, I start to run into a barrier. But if I let his leg come out further, I can get him to move a little bit better. And we typically will see that within someone's squat stance too, which is why not everyone should squat with stands, that we can kind of see on this side. If I keep him close, barrier's right there. If I let this go out to the side, I can get him a lot further. So with regards to squat stance, I'm going to assume he'll do better with the wider squat stance to control some of his tilt. So if he did have some pain, we can do some things to control that. Or just to better improve his performance on a squat, it's something we're gonna look at. So come on up, Anthony, and let's just look. So let's have you face the side again, that way. And let's have you keep a narrow stance, and I want your feet kind of straight. So this is something I think is gonna cause more of a curvature for him. So go ahead and squat with that. And so you can see he dumps a fair amount there versus if you stand up. And let's have you widen your feet out. And let's have you toe out too. Okay? And now let's have you squat down the same way. And we can see still a little bit of a curvature, but we're lessening the curvature. And then stand on up. So that's one way to change a squat in respect to squat. So I'll have Erica come on up next. And we also have to look at people's hip mobility and constraints too of what's going on there. So Erica, I'll have you just keep your feet narrow stance. Let's see you squat down. And with her, we can see a little bit, but not much there. And then let's have you come up, and let's have you go wider with your feet, and come on down. And she actually kind of curves maybe a little bit more. Did you feel a difference?
Yeah, actually, I felt like I wasn't butt-winking as much there.
Okay, so let's have you lie on your back. So I'm going to assume with her that she has a narrower hip mobility where we can keep her leg closer to her chest. Yeah, so for her, I can keep her much closer. She'll have room out to the side, but it's about the same. So certain people will do better with a closer stance because of this. Differences in hip anatomy, bony anatomy, and we can see changes there. So that's kind of the big things we want to take from the Buttwink. So we need to realize that some of this too is from a stability perspective. So with Erica, let me have you do the active straight leg raise we did before. So bring one leg up as far as you can. Right, so she stops right about there. So that's still a pretty good leg raise, but what we'll find, you put both your arms up, right, push into my hand, straight arms, push, right, and now bring that leg up. She can get a lot further. So once we have this control of her core, and so we get core stability, we're gonna get distal mobility down here. So when I have her go to squat, or Anthony even squat, so come on up. Let's have to do that narrow-footed squat with this and kind of reach out in front of you. That forces a brace here and a counterbalance. We'll see when she squats down that she has a very much more stable angle here. So now we're much more organized here in order to improve her performance really in all actuality. So do that a couple more times. Nice and slow. Good. Handstand up. Versus bring it in. We'll notice a little bit of a duck there, but not too much. Nothing here that I would be concerned about as far as creating injury or anything like that, because again, what we know from our studies is that even when we think we don't see any movement, there's plenty of movement happening. So neutral is more of a range, and it's more for a performance realm or aspect that we want to maybe correct a Buttwink versus being someone that's going to try to correct it to prevent injury. It's not necessarily the case. We can still flex the spine. It's healthy to flex the spine. We need to flex the spine. So just something we want to keep in mind when we're training and coaching or any of the above. So hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Check out our website, barbelltherapyperformance.com.